5, episode 8 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Litzkin. Jonathan, how are we doing?
We are doing great, Sam. Excited to be back.
Well, I know that you're excited. I know that
By the way, in my mind, we haven't done a podcast in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month. In my mind, you spent that time practicing turning off the intro music.
Turning on and off the intro music.
You really don't have a problem turning it on most times.
No, I forget every once in a while.
Most times, I should say.
So, I didn't know this, but now you need a premium account to stream on Twitter.
Oh, do you?
So, we'll see if we're going to pitch in for that on the podcast account. Either that or we will just stream all of it to my account.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, we're streaming on my account. This is still will be available, Twitch, YouTube, for any of you people that for some reason watch us there. I don't think we have any Twitch. I don't think anyone watches us on Twitch. Like, I think some people will watch on YouTube.
The only time I've ever heard of people using Twitch is to watch video game streamers.
I mean, I used to use Twitch for my sports, some of the sports stuff I did a couple of years back. But regardless, we are 106 days away from the college basketball season, which means we are less than a week away from the top 100. So before we get into top 100 stuff, it's also Peach Jam week, and Jonathan's been keeping up with that very, very closely. I have not quite as high of a level for that. I wish that I would be able to keep up with it more. Hopefully I go next year, but that's
I also really want to go next year.
But that's a story for another time. Regardless, Jonathan, who has stood out to you the most at Peach Jam? Who has risen their stock the most?
So I think you're asking a couple different questions here. One the kids who we think are really good have stood out the most. I think that Tyron Stokes has had a triple-double this week and another near triple-double in I think their quarterfinal game earlier today. And by the way, it's Knight Riders versus Oakland Soldiers tomorrow at 11:30 Eastern in the championship.
Yeah, I'm gonna just jump in right here. Tyron Stokes, I haven't watched a ton of him, but everything that I have watched, this dude might. And you're a huge Tyron Stokes fan. Tyron Stokes might be the best player in high school basketball right now.
This will not be far or even close to the last time that we bring him up on this show. And
I think Tyron Stokes is going to be we're having a legitimate revival of top prospects, top American high school prospects. After it feels like it's been a couple of years where we didn't really have many. Now we have legit top prospects that are going to be top NBA prospects in a few years that are going to come into college basketball. And people are going to say, I texted you this a couple weeks ago. I think we're coming into this season. We're going to have one of those seasons that people look back on in 5 years and say, why isn't there any star power left in college basketball like the year that they had Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey? Because I think this year we're going to have that with Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey, the way that maybe not the same way that it was with Zion and Ja, because that was absurd, but it's going to be a special year for top talent in college basketball. And then we're going to get it again with the Boozer twins and AJ DeBonsta. And then with Tyron Stokes after that, there are so many high-level American prospects coming through right now that are going to be impressive for the future.
Yeah, and the thing is, these are elite prospects, next level generational, if you will, prospects for a reason.
I don't think they're generational. I don't think
we do overuse that term.
They have generational traits. Cooper Flagg has generational traits. He's not a generational prospect because a generational prospect is by definition once in a generation. Victor Wembanyama is a generational prospect because there's never been anyone like him. Now, there's never really been anyone quite like Cooper Flagg, but I don't think he's generational in the same sense. He has some generational traits, though.
Yeah, and these guys, we're not supposed to have these super elite freshmen like we have coming up every year, because otherwise the bar would be higher, right? And we'd keep raising it. Cooper Flagg and some of these other guys that are coming up, like what people do forget is Cooper Flag, and this is kind of off the track, but Cooper Flag is supposed to be going into a senior year in high school. He's the number one player in his class. AJ Debansa is supposed to be going into his junior year in high school. He's going into his senior year. He's the number one player in his class. There's a reason that like these guys are being talked about as much as they are, and like part of that is they're able to transfer up a class and play with kids a year older and still be the best among all of them.
It's very impressive that what we're seeing. I mean, even AJ Devonsta is a reclass. I'm pretty sure, right? He was originally class of 26.
Yeah, him and Stokes are supposed to both be juniors.
And yeah, Oakland Soldiers stacked, and I'm really excited to watch Oakland Soldiers against Knight Riders. That should be a tremendous basketball game.
I can throw out some names that have
What
had big
sleepers
weeks.
have stood out?
Huh?
What who has risen their stock? Give me some of those.
Okay. I haven't heard a lot about his name until this week, but Tonde Yosefu from Team Why Not, which is Russell Westbrook's program, his team didn't get out of pool play, but it was a very good team nonetheless. Sam, I sent the tweet to you when you kind of offered him the other day, and I said like congrats on another or something like that. I first saw this kid playing against Sierra Canyon when I was watching some guys on that team that are going to be freshmen in high school. When you watch Tonde, like you don't think like he's gonna be like as good as he is because like he's a 6'5", like kind of small / power forward, but like he plays so hard and like he just finds ways to impact the game in so many different ways. Like he had a game this week where he had 29, 8 rebounds, 6 steals, and 2 blocks at 6'5". So
very good player,
complete skill set. A couple other guys. Jordan Smith, who's going to be a junior in high school this year, just got a Duke offer the other day. Like one of the best on-ball defenders I've scouted, at least from a guard perspective, in high school basketball. Cortland Muldrew, this isn't exactly like because of this week, but like this week certainly didn't hurt. This is a kid from, I think, the state of Arkansas playing for Team Thad that like Arkansas got really interested in like this past like couple weeks. He was playing with like Jasper Johnson and a couple other of those guys. Let's think. Who else did I?
Here's a question for you. Who are the players that you don't see it with?
Okay. Keep in mind, I haven't watched as many 2025 kids as I have 2024. Obviously, right? Like these kids have another year of high school still to get better. I don't want to say this in a bad way because I still think he's very good, but like I don't think Darius Akoff is like a top 5 kid in this class.
I think we disagree on Darius Akoff. I'm not sure he's top 5, but I love his game. I think he's going to be a stud.
Maybe first of all, I didn't really watch him at all this week because his team didn't make Peach Jam. They were in the Peach Jam Invitational, and like I thought the way IMG put their roster together last year was actually awful. Like the way that they're spacing around him was
they were not good last year, just straight up. I watched them give up 60 points in like 15 minutes of basketball in Chipotle Nationals.
Yeah, I think they got into that tournament strictly off the fact that like their name's IMG. There were other prep schools that were better than them that should have been in that.
I did not think. I thought IMG had a bad year. I think Donnie Freeman's solid. Didn't really fit with what they were trying to do. Acuff's awesome. Didn't really work out though, and I'm not a Connie Ruth's guy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, who else do you not really see it with?
Let's think here. See, like every guy, like most of the guys I've watched so far, I think like either higher of or like I think their rankings about right. So like this is tough. I'll throw out this guy wasn't playing on the Peach Jam circuit. He was in Adidas and playing with Compton Magic, which is where Koa Pete played. But JJ Mandaquit, who's going to be playing at Utah Prep from with Debansta this upcoming year. Point guard, like good frame. I just like it didn't seem like there was much explosiveness to his game, and it felt like he didn't deal with pressure at like the level that I've heard he's
All right,
been
I'm
picked
gonna
up to. And like
I'm gonna
this
I'm
isn't a
gonna
kid
throw
that's
out.
like a top. This isn't a kid that's a top 20 kid. So like that's not a big. It's not a big deal. Like I want to say he's in like the 40s or 30s, but
All right, I'm gonna throw out some names just that have been pumped up really big at certain points over the last couple of months, and
mhm.
you're just gonna give me one or two sentences on what you think. One name that I just remember out of the NBPA camp that just shot up rankings was Chris Senac.
Okay, haven't gotten a chance to see him yet, but like this is like this is he got a Duke offer like I want to say like a month and a half
At
ago,
the NBPA camp.
and that's when he started like
That's when he
going
shot.
away.
He was shooting up like at that camp, and then he got the Duke offer.
I'm hoping because he transferred to Link Academy. I'm hoping that Link Academy is playing in the Norm Stewart Classic again this year. They didn't last year, so I can see him. But that requires another prep school like coming out here to play in it. Oh, another one, Jasper Johnson.
That you don't see it with.
Yeah, like I think there are tools with him that are certainly exciting, but I mean, like every box score I look at, like the shooting percentages are awful. Like
Right.
he just like I just don't think he has a great feel for the game yet. And
Another name I've
maybe that's
seen.
something he gets better at, but I also don't think that him transferring to overtime elite is going to help with that.
Another name that I've seen get a lot of airtime at points this offseason is a Caden Lewis. What do you think?
I knew that was going to be your next one.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
of course.
I was on a Caden back in oh god, this had to be before last college basketball season started, or like at
I
least
like
right
him.
around there. Huh?
I like him too from the little I've watched.
Yeah, he just plays super hard, can play multiple spots. Multiple spots, whether that's a wing, handling it a little bit. Like, he's one of those kids that like all like we watched like you would watch him and it'd be like okay, why aren't all of these big schools coming in on him? Then he got Duke, then he got UNC. So I think his rise in rankings has definitely been sometime coming.
All right, I think that's going to do it for our Peach Jam and high school prospects discussion. It's time to talk about honorable mentions for our top 100, which starts very, very soon. I'm going to start with my first honorable mention, which is a team that you have in your top 100. Team 101 for me at the moment, all subject to change, is Bradley.
Okay.
I didn't really want to go out there and rank any of the Valley teams because I just not sure what to think of any of them.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's totally fair.
the one that I think I'm clearest on is Bradley. Duke Dean coming back, Zeke Montgomery, Marfos, Darius Hannah's there. Brian Wardle can really coach, but Malavi Leons was so important to everything that they did that losing him is just a complete reset to the defense, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With Bradley, I definitely have them ranked a little higher. I wouldn't be surprised if they finished right around where you had them ranked either. But the thing with them for me is I think Darius Hannah will probably be on a summer league roster in a year, the way Malavi was. I just don't think he's gotten quite that opportunity yet. His numbers will never be super eye popping, but like he's more athletic than Malavi was. Probably not as good, like defending different spots on the floor, but they're different players. And then, yeah, Duke Dean will probably score 17 a game. Could lead the conference in scoring.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure how I feel about Duke Dean being like a 17 a game scorer. Like I don't think that. Like okay. I just don't think his best. I don't think he's best when he is like trying to score 17 a game. I think him being a 13 a game guy is his best version.
Sure. I also other Valley fans that like aren't Bradley fans think he sucks, and like I don't get it.
I don't think he sucks. I just think he's a solid like number 2 option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like I think
I just think as a number 1, that's a lot of defensive attention on a 5'8" guard I get that he's experienced, he can pass, but I'm concerned
Um,
that he's just not going to be able to be a true number one, and Bradley just won't end up having one unless we see Darius Hannah take a step up shooting wise.
so Almar Atlison, who started for them last year at the 4, and like, sorry, at the 3, he was a bigger 3 at 6'8". I don't know why he's currently not listed in the starting lineup. I think he could have a breakout year. He's like a Rink Moss light in some aspects, like just like bigger guy that can
Can really
stretch the
shoot.
floor,
Yeah,
like
I like
high
it.
IQ. Um,
I think he
there's been
might be
I
a
haven't,
year away though.
huh?
I think he might be a year away from like the
Yeah, no,
all
I agree. But
MVP.
he had a good freshman season, and then the other ones I haven't watched him yet, and I need to. They got this JUCO kid named Corey Thomas, who is like supposed to be very good, and I haven't
I
watched
think that
him.
another good bet for them like to have as a top scorer. I remember I texted you about him when he committed. Connor Dillon from
Yeah,
Peoria.
from Winona, right?
Yeah, he's a big time scorer at the D2 level, and I think that maybe the best version of Bradley is if he's their leading scorer at like 16 a game.
I could totally see it.
And that and
Winona's a good program.
I just don't know if he's going to be 13 a game, 16 a game, 18 in a game. I just think there's too many question marks right now, even around Bradley, which returns a lot compared to some other teams that at the and I get there's question marks around a lot of the teams towards the back end of my top 100, but I feel like I have clearer answers there. All
Yeah,
right, who's your first
I trust
honorable
Winona. By the way, that's a good program. They can eval.
who is your first honorable mention?
My first honorable mention. I'm gonna go backwards here, counting down from like the furthest team that made my top 25, almost made my top 100 to like the closest to 101. And my furthest team is Towson.
Okay.
They were a team I looked at for a decent bit. I think they have a lot of intriguing players. They were kind of young last year. Dylan Williamson, Tyler Tejada being back, Makai Lowry, I think is going to play a bigger role for them
Love him.
this year. What'd you say?
Christian May back as well.
The thing that like kind of gave me a little pause with them is like losing Charles Thompson is tough. Like that's a tough guy to replace.
They were 146 in Ken Palm last year, and Charles Thompson was their best player, and he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's obviously a big loss. But you bring back all the freshmen, which I'm going to mention them at some point later in the show. I'm going to mention this team at a point later in the show. But bringing back Christian May, Dylan Williams, and Tyler Tejada and Makai Lowry, I was sure that they wouldn't be able to bring back most of those guys, but they bring all of them back, and that's really an impressive look for Pat Scarry. They are. Are they on my? They're not on my honorable mention list, but I definitely considered them.
Mhm.
My next honorable mention is Vermont. I would
Okay.
have had them in my top 100 if Jalen Young stayed committed, and I still think there's a good argument for them to be there. I think there's going to be I think Larry Io Follier is going to have a humongous year for them. He's going to be the best. He's going to be such a great defensive player in that league. He was last year. I think he might be the defensive player of the year in that league this coming season. Just does so much for them on that end, and I think he stepped up scoring wise when he needed to last year. He'll have a little bit more on his plate in that sense, and he could average 12 and 6, 12 and 7 and 2 blocks and a steal and just have a really great season. They were their best defensively they'd been in years last year, and he was a big part of that, and it's along with Shamir Bogues being a big part of that. Those two are both back. I think they were the key pieces of the defense, and that's going to be the reason why they're going to be really good.
All right. All right. My next team is Charlotte, and Charlotte is a team that finished 120th in Ken Palm last year. Obviously, lost some key pieces. Igor Milicic went over to Tennessee, but I like what they did in the portal, adding Kylan Blackman from Stetson, and Giancarlo Rosado from FAU, and then Sam, the kid from Louisiana Monroe. Like, do you know how to pronounce his name?
Metkarsh. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
Nika.
Yeah, he was like 13 points a game at Louisiana Monroe.
I
This team.
remember there was Mac interest in him, and I'm like, oh god, I don't want to learn how to spell and pronounce his name. Would have been a good get for the league though.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like, Charlotte's another team that like they're gonna have to overcome losing some good players. Lucai Patterson's gone too, but like it's a team that returns a point guard in Nick Graves, another one in Braswell who played for them last year, and then Blackman we know can just flat out score, and Rosado like we know how much better he made FAU when he was out there.
My next honorable mention is Cornell.
Oh, mine too. That's perfect.
I would have had them in the top 100 if you were just ranking teams maybe based on their starting groups. But Cornell is a team that over the past few years, or like just the starting groups and like an implied bench. But the thing about Cornell is I don't think their bench this year is as good as their bench was the past 2 years. And that's kind of where the drop off comes. The starting lineup, I don't think is going to be any worse than it was last year, even though
I wouldn't expect it to be.
you lose a whole bunch of the guys. It's just that they don't have as much depth, and their whole thing was depth. I love Cooper Nord. I love Nas Williams, A.K. Okereke, Guy Ragland. It's just that they have to replace so much of like what they did as a lot of like their second unit was guys like they look at what they lose. There's a lineup of guys that they lost would be around as good as the lineup of guys that they retained. Think about it. Chris Mannon, Isaiah Gray, Sean Hansen, Keller Boothby. That's 4 guys that they lost that if they that like would make a really darn good 4-man lineup themselves. So that's why I have a little bit of pause with putting Cornell in the top 100. And also new coach, you don't really know. But I like Cornell. I think they're going to be good.
Yeah, this is the team that went 11-3 in the Ivy League last year. They hired internally, so
yes,
I think that helps.
It still could be different. Like there's definitely we don't know a ton about John Jakes. I still don't know exactly how to say his name. I'm just pronouncing it like the Red Sox pitcher from a couple years ago. But if I'm assuming the system will be fairly similar, but first time head coach, it could obviously end up in pressure situations that maybe he doesn't handle as well in year one as Brian Earl did in down the line in his career. And I hope he does. I think I want Cornell to be really good. I want the Ivy League to be really good. I love that league, but I am not quite confident enough to put them in my top 100. Who's your next honorable mention?
I've heard positive things about the coach there. I'm blanking on his name right now.
John Jakes.
Okay. My next one was Cornell, so you can go ahead with another one.
My next honorable mention is Cal. I just don't know what to do with this team. Like straight up, no clue. Because there are
I will tell you right off the bat.
Dudes.
I will tell you right off the bat that Cal did not make my honorable mentions, nor did they make my top 100. No, nor were they really that close, in my opinion.
I like a few of these guys. Omat's solid. Brightus is pretty good. I think that's a better level for Sissoko than trying to be at a starting center for a tournament team.
I'm not sure there is a good level for Sissoko.
I mean, this is a better one. We've said a lot of stuff about Monty Sissoko on this podcast.
A former guest on this podcast once said that he wasn't sure he'd take him to score on a chair. So,
Stojakovic is an interesting upside play. They brought in some solid, some really interesting pieces. The question is just, there's just so many dudes. How many of them are actually good?
Yeah.
and that we'll have to find out. That's why I didn't put them in the top 100. There's probably enough talent. There's probably this team top to bottom is probably as talented as a bunch of teams that I have in my top 100, and I like Madsen. I just have no idea what this team's going to look like.
It's also like it's just a tough place to win. Like,
And
they don't.
I want to.
Cal doesn't have a lot of money to begin with, so
can I double up here?
Mm-hmm.
Stanford's another honorable mention.
Okay, so those are your 5.
I have a couple more.
Oh, okay. I only did 5.
Stanford's another honorable mention. Until they got Okpara and Blake's and like they kind of filled out their roster, it was looking really bad, like really bad. But with honestly a front court of Okpara and Reno isn't bad. As long as Blake's and Saren can figure it out, this could be a fine team.
Yeah, I have them ranked.
I have a lot fewer question marks with them as I do with Cal. I also just think maybe Cal top to bottom is a little more talented.
Oh yeah, I think that I agree with, but I do trust Kyle Smith to get.
I mean, I love Kyle Smith, but I also think Madsen's great too. All right, who's your next honorable mention?
Yeah, like I mean, I'm sure like at some point during the season, like some dude off their bench will start playing well that like we've never heard of, and like it's like, oh, this kid was playing. This kid was playing underwater basket weaving last year, and now he's averaging 9 points a game at Stanford.
Ironically, underwater basket weaving was also what his college essay was about that got him into Stanford, along with his 9.0 GPA and 27,000 SAT score.
Okay, my next one. So, I'm almost positive you at least thought about this team, putting them in your honorable mentions. You'll talk about them later, or you just flat out them in the top 100. But like St. Joe's is too talented not to at least mention when talking about preseason rankings of this size. Like, listen, like Billy Lang is under a lot of pressure here from a mid-major standpoint, but you're walking into this season with probably like arguably the best backcourt in mid-major basketball in Xavier Brown, who was like the best freshman, like maybe in the country last year from from some aspects.
I love Xavier Brown. That's pushing it.
Eric Reynolds, and then Derek Simpson, I thought was a like smart addition from Rutgers. Like it's just 3 guys that can all handle the ball and all make plays. Front court, like you add Justice. How do you pronounce his name? Adjigbour from Harvard. He was good there last year. Steven Solano, I've seen a little film of. He's interesting.
Huge.
He's an interesting bench
piece for them. He took a visit to Iona. Like Iona wanted him bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was at Lawomere this past season, and like you see the guy playing. It's just like he's so much bigger.
Honestly, I did not have St. Joe's in my list or my honorable mentions, and thinking about it again, I should. Like I really should.
Like the talent is just too obvious to ignore, in my opinion. Like you can say what you want about Billy Lang, and like this could be tough if things go bad here, but like they were 99th last year in Gen Pom, and like I don't think the talent they have is worse.
I think this might honestly, the Xavier Brown, Eric Reynolds, Derek Simpson trio it's probably an upgrade over Xavier Brown, Eric Reynolds, freshman Xavier Brown, last year Eric Reynolds, and last year Lynn Greer. Like it's probably around that same level, but they also lose Cam Brown, Krista Sandico.
Yeah. Look, I don't think the talent level is
the talent is not the problem.
No, I don't even think it's really worse, but like the point being, like
talent might be
in a preseason ranking, like in a preseason ranking, you're gonna take some chances on other teams that you have more confidence in, obviously, right? And like also like I think the sport is just in for a better year as a whole.
My next honorable mention, I'm gonna give my last 2: Ohio and UC Riverside.
Okay, both of those teams will be in my top 100.
All right. I think that's. I don't really want to get.
I have one more honorable
Oh, you have
mention.
one more. Who?
Yeah, and this is like a sneaky one that like I don't think you put in your top 100, but like you and I have definitely talked about them. That's Troy of the Sun Belt.
Yeah, you like them.
Yeah, I just cut them out because I had to put James Madison in, and I realized I didn't have them. But Troy's a team that I wouldn't be that surprised if they won the conference this year. They have some of the highest returning production in the sport, which is just invaluable in this day and age. And then they got a kid in Kobe Campbell from I forget which D2, but I think it was like somewhere in Idaho, and like guy that scored, guy that shoots really well, and like they started multiple freshmen last year, so I think some of these guys will get a lot better, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were the one seed come March in the Sun Belt.
All right, that's gonna do it for the honorable mentions. It's time for one of our favorite things that we do every year.
Are we saving this game for the end that you told me we had?
Yeah, the game is at the very end. The game is
good.
at the very end. You don't even know what the game is.
You didn't forget.
You don't even know. I'm not forgetting the game.
Dude, it's a game about college basketball. I don't need to.
I have a home note with the rest of our show planned out. Don't worry. Coaches Under Pressure is gonna start us off.
Okay.
With our just lists
we going 5-1 here.
5-1.
Okay, I tried my best.
I'm going to have forgotten people. My list is going to be wrong. Jonathan's list is going to be wrong. We just kind of put these together. At number 5,
I was looking at some of them last year. I put Alabama's entire roster in my janky fits, and they made the Final Four.
Coaches Under Pressure. My number 5 coach under pressure is Johnny Dawkins. I think he did this to himself based on the roster that he built. He said that because if this doesn't work, like if this team doesn't make a tournament, it could blow up real bad, and he would be very easy to fire if this goes wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he did it to himself by just putting so many flammable types on the roster, and not that it's a bad roster. It's a really solid roster. But there's so much flammability on the roster that he's put himself under so much pressure, and the just amount of blue chip talent, quote unquote, makes it a quote unquote tournament roster. And if they don't make it, they got to let him go.
The blunt way to say it is like they have a lot of red flags on their team.
All right, yeah. But I think he put himself under pressure. Like there's a bunch. I'm also gonna say like there's a bunch of coaches that are like at risk of getting fired at their high major school that I didn't I didn't put on here.
Yeah, no, just because
like Leonard Hamilton's not on here. He's like Leonard Hamilton knows that he's probably in his last season going into this. He's not on here.
This is basically a list of hey, if like you don't do well, like this could look really bad, either look really bad for you or like you may not get fired, but there's going to be a lot of people that are not happy.
Also, one name that I very strongly considered putting on the list, but an honorable mention, if you may, Ed Cooley.
I like it. I didn't even think about it.
They have to show progress. And a lot of it.
And like we'll kind of get it. I'm going to talk about them a little bit later in the show, and like I'm really not sure about that team.
Like they have to. Like there's a lot. Georgetown put a lot of money into hiring him into NIL. He needs to have a huge year. Like maybe not like a tournament year, but like they need to be competitive in the Big East. And I'm not sure they can be. Who's your number?
I have one honorable mention. That's Mick Cronin.
Okay. I was gonna put him on. I decided against it.
Obviously, there's only 5 coaches on each list for us, and so we had to be sort of selective. But like Mick's a really good coach, but they had a really, really bad year. And like, yes, it's forgivable, but like he was walking into every press conference angry. It sounded like he had like completely given up on the team. Like he did, like basically was like telling guys like they weren't ready for high major basketball. Like he threw shots at like some of the European kids that he took. Like I think with all the transfers he took, it's at least there's pressure on him to steer it back on course.
Yes, and whether that's make the tournament, come close, just look like you're actually enjoying what you do.
Yeah, like they're
Okay,
playing.
and
They're going to
who
be
is your
playing.
number 5?
Like this is the Big Ten. They're going to be playing competitive basketball night in and night out. My number 5, and this is a weird one, Sam, that I bet you didn't even think about, but Steve Peichel at number 5 for me.
Okay,
So
I get that.
Basically, yeah. The explanation here is I don't think Steve Peichel is at risk of losing his job or even being close. I don't think like Steve Peichel is at risk of like people being upset with him and like Rutgers fans like not liking him or anything like that. But how often do you get 2 top 5 recruits, 2 potential first team All-Americans, and 2 maybe top 5 NBA draft choices next year at Rutgers? Like he's never going to get this opportunity again.
Yeah, okay. I don't disagree with the idea that he's got pressure on him to succeed this year because this is their highest ceiling likely ever. But I don't think that if it doesn't go well, there's any consequence for him. Like I don't think he gets put under any pressure to win like the next, like I think he is the reason Rutgers is where they are.
No, but I also think that we could look at Steve Peichel completely differently if this season goes well.
Oh yeah, I think he might have the most to gain.
Sure, that's fair.
I think like if you're making a list of coaches with the most to gain, Steve
Peichel, which we talked about doing.
Shoot, you know what I just forgot. I just realized I forgot to put a pretty obvious name on the list, and like.
Oh, I can tell you right away who you forgot.
And literally, I'm putting him in at number 2 on my list, maybe even number 1.
Okay.
But like if there's like a list of coaches with the most to gain from like a really good year this year, Peichel, Chris Collins proving that he really knows what he's doing and it's not just boo booey. He could gain a lot. There's another name I forgot about that I'm looking at right now. Another coach with a lot to gain this coming year. I think Craig Smith kind of comes in with no expectations and like he's come pretty far. He's come pretty close to making the tournament. Maybe they have like a BYU type year, Like
how about
I don't think.
How about Darren DeVry?
Yep. Like, oh my God.
Nobody except for
Kenley Jansen just gave up a leadoff home run to Kike Hernandez in the 9th inning at Dodger Stadium. Another coach with a lot to gain would be Micah Shrewsbury.
Yeah, that's.
But yeah, there's and Damon Stoudemire has a lot to gain.
What I was gonna say about
but then there's also like, okay, let me just rearrange my list a little bit because
while you do that, I was literally gonna say just like the only people who thinks West Virginia is going to be like Eddie Good are like me and their fans, and like even I think they're like the 50-something best team in the country.
All right, so okay, I now have Johnny Dawkins at 7 on my list. 6, John Calipari.
Okay, I did not put him on.
And I just think that and this is kind of like a dual partnership on a list with him and Mark Pope, I feel.
They're going to get grouped together.
We'll get because but I think Cal has more pressure on him simply because he's John Calipari. And Arkansas lured him away from Kentucky and basically said, all right, here, just win us a championship in the next couple. Like if he stayed at Kentucky, like obviously they would have expected him to win a championship within the next couple of years, but I feel like this kind of sets him like a firm, like you better win a championship at some point in the next couple of years. Like you better, because Eric Musselman did a really good job there. He brought them to the Elite 8 twice, Sweet 16 3 times. Like if they don't make a second weekend, it's going to look bad. It's going to look really bad for John Calipari.
Yeah, the thing with Cal and like, I talk about Cal enough on this show.
I've got to get back to number 5 on my list. Penny Hardaway.
Oh, I have him on here. I won't say
All
why
right,
yet, but I have him on
but
here.
we'll talk about him
Can,
when you get
can I
there.
give my two? Can I give my 2 cents on why I didn't put Cal on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, like, as unreasonable and like uncalm as Arkansas fans are, and trust me, I've interacted with them plenty. They are something else. I
They're
think
passionate.
I think their fans, to an extent, understand that like this next coming class for Cal in 25 is going to be like loaded. And like I tweeted about this last night that like the 2023 class that he put together, we always knew had flaws. And like the way that season ended, I think everyone except for like me and you were surprised. It's like this
Yeah.
is what he is now. And like maybe Arkansas changes that a little bit, but like well, I'll get into them a little more later.
All right. My number 5 is Penny. Who's your number 4?
4 is Mark Pope.
Wait, who did you say was your 5?
Pikel.
Like, all right, who's your number 4?
Penny Hart. Not Penny. Sorry, Mark Pope.
Say the line. Actually, no, it's my line.
You can say the line. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to steal it from you.
When Mark Pope walked into his opening press conference in front of 22,000 people holding his national championship trophy over his head, he lost any plausible deniability of we're just building up. This is going to be a multi-year process. No. Like when you do that, like I get that maybe he has like Kentucky fans in a trance. That trance could expire real fast if it doesn't go well in year one.
Anyone can have them in a trance from the months of June to October.
Hold on, how many Twitter followers does Ansley Almanor have
Dude,
right now?
they could hire Dan the Monkey and we'd have them in a trance from June to October.
Well, to be fair, Dan is the only monkey to correctly predict a 16-1 upset.
That's true. That's true.
Ansley Almanor has 2,600 followers.
What'd you say?
Ansley Almanor has 2,600 followers on Twitter. I'm pretty sure he had like 400 before the Kentucky rumors came in.
The old Kentucky versus Siena recruiting battle.
I actually just discussed that on Coast to Coast Hoops with Greg Peterson. That's going out on Monday. The MAC preview I did with him.
Oh
my God!
I'll listen. Have you done your number? Your number 4 was Penny, right?
Yeah, my number. Well, no, that was my 5 because I had to move someone up to 4.
So you haven't done your 4.
The 4.
Okay, hold on. I have Penny at 3, so we'll get into him in a second. Who's your 4?
Bobby Hurley.
Okay, that's interesting.
I added him to the list recently because I just looked at the fact that they are spending all this money, and they have over his tenure basically nothing except for that like Fugazi number 3 ranking to show for it.
You mean in like 2019?
They have a lot. Yeah, like they have in his tenure, they've made the NCAA tournament 3 times. They have not made it out of round 1. They have not finished higher than 49th in KenPom. Like, if Arizona State has this type of money, what's stopping them from at the end of the year saying if they go whatever 8-12 or 6-14, 7-13, saying we can do better than this because they can do better if they truly have this type of money.
Yeah. So my thing with Bobby Hurley is like, first of all, nothing encapsulates a Bobby Hurley season like being ranked number 3 and then a COVID pandemic hits right before conference tournaments are about to start, and you're not like a lock to make the NCAA tournament.
I think that was the year before. I don't think that was that year.
No, dude, that was the same year. Trust me. They were awesome at the beginning of the year, and were like like one of the best teams in the country. And then like once Pac-12 play started, it was a disaster.
Hold on. Let me look this up. They were. No, it was 17-18 that they were 3rd in the country.
Okay,
It wasn't 2021.
I'm fairly certain they were awesome to start 1920 as well.
They were 8-2.
Okay,
I mean,
they
they were
beat someone good at the
19-8.
start of the year, huh?
They beat Central Connecticut. All right, regardless, move on.
Okay.
Who you? All right, Penny. He's your number 3.
The reason I didn't consider Bobby Hurley, I just don't think Arizona State fans care.
I don't think it's the fans. I just think that if there's that much money coming in, the if there's that much money coming in, the athletic director there, whoever it is, I have no idea, can probably say, we can do better than this. We can pay more to do better than this.
Okay. Their football team is also in a train wreck right now. So like maybe a new basketball
Didn't
hire.
Didn't they hire like the Oregon assistant?
Yeah,
or something?
Kenny Dillingham. Which
Yeah.
like I don't think what's happened. I don't think what's happening there right now is his fault. But like it's a train wreck.
Yeah, because the guy before him was Herm Edwards.
Everyone knew that was going to work. Hey, he knocked Mario Cristobal out of the playoff that one time.
Anyway, move on. Who?
Okay,
on Penny.
Let's talk Penny Hardaway. You want to start here? Or you want me to?
Another year like last year, and they got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Just like no question, he's a.
It got to the point where last year, where even Memphis fans were like, kind of like
Memphis fans have a cycle. Memphis fans have a cycle. May through
Hitman is excluded
January,
from this,
May through early January, he's the best coach in the country. Mid-January until the portal starts, he's the worst coach in the country. Clockwork every year.
Yeah.
And they finished. Do you know where they finished in KenPom last year?
Ooh, this is a good question. I'm gonna say 71.
76.
Oh, that was close.
Reminder: they were a top 10 team in the country in January at 15-2, and they were 51st in KenPom.
Oh God!
Just like they missed the NCAA tournament. They go out in the first round of the American Conference tournament. There's just an unbelievable amount of pressure right now on Penny Hardaway because there is a ton of money in that program, and I think they know they can do better. They just don't want to.
You also
get rid of an alum after one bad year.
You also you don't want this to turn into like the Patrick Ewing situation, which if they continue to have those types of years, that's what they'll be approaching.
I mean, they still won 22 games last year. Let's pump the brakes on a Patrick Ewing.
Yeah,
situation.
They play in the American. That should
Patrick
be
Ewing
the minimum.
Patrick Ewing never won 20 games.
Dude, I don't care. They play in the American. You don't think if Patrick Ewing's Georgetown teams were in the American, they would have won 20 games?
I mean, they also never finished higher than 63rd. Penny's teams have been significantly better.
Regardless, they have one tournament win under him.
Yes, but the worst year for Penny is still above the median year for Ewing.
Sure. Did you do your number 3 yet?
My number 3 is Porter Moser.
Okay, didn't include him.
I
had him last year, I know that.
I get how many years can you miss the tournament at Oklahoma and still be the head coach? Porter Moser's teaching us right now. Apparently, so far, the answer is 3.
I don't think
this could be the year that the wheels fall off and they finish with 5 conference wins and 88th in KenPom. It's possible that happens. They could be good. I have them. I like a bunch of pieces. I love Duke Miles, but this could be I think this is definitely a team with a lower floor than they had the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like at some point, if you miss the tournament 4 straight years at a program like Oklahoma, I don't see how you can keep your job. Oklahoma has not missed the tournament 4 straight years in the Ken Palm era.
Yeah.
Even
Lon
Jeff Capel,
Kruger was also awesome.
Yeah, I know, but like Lon Kruger and Kelvin Sampson were two of their coaches, and Jeff Capel was also there. Jeff Capel made an Elite Eight at Oklahoma. This guy really knows what he's doing. I get it. He had Blake Griffin. But they also fired Jeff Capel. They also fired Jeff Capel just 2 years after he made the Elite Eight.
So, yeah, that's another situation where I don't know how much like pressure the athletic director is to fire him.
Now, none of these years for Oklahoma have been anywhere near as bad as Capel's last 2 years. But again, Lon Kruger only missed the NCAA tournament twice at Oklahoma, if you don't include 2020 when they were a bubble team. His first year and 2017, which was a transition year because they just lost Buddy Hield and they got Trae Young the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Tyler O'Neill, just 2-run home run. Awesome. Yeah. Porter Moser's got to make it. And this also, like, I didn't put him on my list, but another name that is kind of starting to get to the Porter Moser club, although it's not quite the same level of job as Steve Forbes. I don't have Steve Forbes on my list, mainly because, like, Wake Forest has made the tournament once since 2010.
It is the hardest Power 4 job in North Carolina, despite what other people want to tell you.
That one op-ed piece from the NC State paper was...
Yes.
All right, regardless, back to Forbes. I also think there's more tangible belief in him than there is in Moser.
I agree.
All right. Who's your number 2? I think our top 2s are probably going to be the same 2 guys.
I'm interested to see who you forgot. 2, Kyle Neptune.
He's number 1 for me.
Okay. So do you want to just say who your number 2 is? Because it's going to be the same person I have. Yes.
Mike Woodson. Yeah, I forgot Woodson.
Those were the first 2 names I wrote down.
The first 2 names I wrote down were Neptune and Hurley. And Moser. Neptune and Moser.
Both are at pretty extreme risks of losing their job. I think Woodson has a better chance to keep his than Neptune.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they make the tournament. Indiana does. They're pretty solid, really talented. I don't think Villanova makes it.
So the question I have is, what do you think is like an acceptable season for both of these coaches to keep their job?
I mean, Villanova has to make the tournament.
But, like, does that do it? Because they almost made it last
If they make the tournament, they also, like, bottomed. They also, like, had a chance when they, like, went on the road to Seton Hall and then hosted Creighton to really, like, make statements late in the season. And they blew them. And then they had the DePaul game. Like, they blew chances last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they had UConn on the ropes at home. They lost that game. They got blown out by St. John's basically twice. They lost at Butler and double. Like, they had, and the games that they lost in the non-conference are inexcusable. Like, that team was mismanaged and they blew chances all year.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana, on the other hand, was just they were straight up not good last year. And there's a lot of talent coming in. There's a lot of talent that they bring back as well. And I almost put Umar Ballo on the weird fits list.
Mm-hmm.
Just considering I don't think but I think he's almost too talented to put on the bad gets list.
Bad gets.
Like
Patelis is
I,
definitely not putting me back on the hate ranking now.
I think it's a I definitely think there's more of a pathway to Balo being good, being a really great player for Indiana than there is for some of the other guys I have on that bad gets list.
Bad
Shamelessly
gets.
ripping off what
Bad gets.
Kevin Sweeney calls that segment on his podcast, which is
What?
tremendous and unfortunately has ended.
Bad gets.
Yeah, he does the bad gets, and that
Oh,
it
I
was
have to listen.
the last ever episode of the CVV Central podcast was the bad gets episode.
Wait, is that podcast done?
Yeah, he's
No.
regardless. We'll talk about this later.
Okay.
Yeah, but Neptune and Woodson, top two.
Yeah.
Anything to add on that?
Yeah. No, I just think like Woods. It's weird because like I think if Neptune makes the tournament, he might be fine. But like I don't think like Mike Woodson getting like a 9 seed is like okay with this team.
I think if they win a tournament game though as a 9 seed and play close with a 1 seed.
Yeah, those would be two interesting searches if those jobs came open.
Who would be your first call at Villanova? Who would be your first? And don't say Jay Wright and don't say Brad Stevens. Who would be your first calls of those two guys?
Obviously not.
Um,
Brad Stevens.
I would say
he's NBA GM.
but that's what Indiana fans. I know that, but Indiana fans would say he's the first call.
Dude, that was dude. I mean, sure, you can call him and he probably won't answer, but like at the same time, like nobody is leaving
Also,
an NBA.
you'll call him and you'll call him and he'll find a way to take 3 first round picks from you, even though you don't have any. He'll find a way. He'll find a way to add a championship contributing piece from that phone call.
He will hang up. He will hang up the phone, and Indiana will have no NIL money left. It will all be going to Jason Tatum.
He'll turn Miles Rice into the Mike Penix of basketball.
All right. All right. Let's see.
First call at Villanova.
First call at Villanova. Man, like they're like they'd shoot big, but like they have to go completely away from
The tree.
what's it called? Completely away from anything internal.
Yeah, because because there's not much success that's come from the tree. If there's another successful if there's another former Nova assistant out there that has had success outside of Villanova, that's where you can go, but there isn't one, at least to my knowledge.
Correct. Damn, K-State has a good year, maybe Jerome Tang.
Would Tang leave K-State for Villanova?
I don't think their NIL situation is all that great.
K-State's?
Yeah.
K-State is the most NIL.
Dude, no chance.
Dude, they just came out of nowhere and told Coleman and paid Coleman Hawkins $2 million.
Dude, wasn't Tang complaining about that last year? Maybe they got their act together. But
they got dude. They have a ridiculous amount of NIL. Them and Kansas State has a ridiculous amount of NIL.
Rule him out.
I would think you could call up.
Are there any mid-major names that you're thinking of?
Not. I mean, Langle. I don't think he's the first call. I think he gets a call. I don't think he's the first call.
Okay. What if Josh Schertz wins the A10 and is a 7 seed?
Yeah,
8 seed?
but I think he'd be a call at Indiana then,
which is entirely possible. Would you rather take Villanova?
Regardless,
or Indiana? Would you rather take Villanova or
I don't
Indiana?
know. I mean, me personally, Villanova, because I like Philadelphia more than Bloomington. But like, I don't know what a coach would think.
Okay.
Regardless, let's just move on. Best transfer fits. I'm gonna give 2 honorable mentions.
Okay.
One, oh my god, my first honorable mention is Jonas Adu. I just think
Okay.
that I just think that Cal needed a guy like that. That's just like a beast, big time post defender, big time post scorer, rebounder.
Mhm.
Just brings toughness. They just didn't have that. Like Anyanso was a great rim protector, but they just didn't like his team didn't have like a tough physical 2-way post presence. That's just an elite player last year, and you could really see how much they missed Chibwe. Um,
Mhm.
and my
Despite
other
what,
honorable mention, my other honorable mention is TJ Bamba. I think
um
that he
okay.
needs. I think TJ Bamba needs a team that is going to get him attacking the rim more, and we saw that um, Oregon had Cousinard attack the rim a lot last year, Kendo too,
Mhm.
and he kind of really fits that mold. Like Shellstad is not a big time rim attacking guard, so Bamba comes in and he'll be their rim pressure guard, and Angel will also be a rim pressure guy. Um, I just love Oregon. I think they're going to be really good next year, and
Mhm.
TJ Bamba is one of the big reasons why. I especially love Kwame Evans for next year. I did not expect to be saying that a year ago, but I love him for next year.
All right.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
I don't. I kind of have one, but it was because I was debating this guy with another guy on the same team. So and like it's number 5, so I can talk about them both. For me, number 5 is Jeremy Roach, and like the honorable mention, I guess, would be Nor Chadomir. Like I just
I did
think
not have either of them on my list, and
Scotcher just
honestly,
always does.
Roach is.
Huh?
I like Roach. I like
Yeah,
Roach on there. That's a good.
Scotcher just like he does well with those types of guards, like guards that are aggressive, a little bit undersized. Um, Roach was like a 40% 3-point shooter last year, so it's a good system fit. And then like Amir, like Baylor has done really well with like obviously like they've never played an undersized center like as good as Amir, but like they've done well with those types of guys.
Okay, I have Pharrell Payne at 5. I've thought a lot
That's
about this just in a lot of
that's
different
not what I
ways.
expected.
I just think he fits the identity with physicality, rebounding. He just feels like a Texas A&M player.
No, I
Like I
totally
don't think
agree.
he
Not what
like
I had expected.
elevates that. I'm not sure he elevates that team a ton. It's just that like he's a guy that just fits what they want to do really well. Like there's other guys on here. I think my top 4 guys will elevate their team more, but I don't think they fit maybe one of them fits the identity of their team more than Payne.
Mhm. Yeah,
Who's your number
that's
4?
it's a good one. Number 4 for me is Ryan Conwell at Xavier. Like we knew he was gonna go to a place that like is a really good program, like a Xavier. And I think the way Sean Miller plays offense with the amount they space the floor, like obviously tough to really replicate what Josh Hurts did at Indiana State, but the way Xavier plays with the amount of shooting they have around him will really help his game.
I was gonna think about putting him on there. I think when I first came up with this list, he was like one of the first names that I thought of, but
Mm,
I ended up putting some different names on there. I went with at number 4 Carlos Stewart at Santa Clara.
okay,
Just
interesting.
they really struggled with point guard play last year. Jalen Benjamin did not live up to the billing of what I thought he would be for them. They had
Hmm.
to use Brenton Napper, who was also not great. Carlos Stewart comes back after just not playing much at LSU. He was a really great guard for them in 2023. He wasn't Super Bowl dominant because they had pods, but that team returns basically everybody else, and they bring back Stewart. They should be really good. That's my
I like
number
it.
4.
I like it. Number 3 for me is a combination of Kadari Richmond and Davon Smith at St. John's.
I was going another 2 guys that I strongly considered, but I just feel that like you can see that like there's a lack of shooting on that roster, and that's kind of what made me stay away from putting them on there. But I love the commit to the bit type of this St. John's team.
Yeah, like Patino's always a guy that
what are your thoughts?
Patino's always a guy that's going to employ like defenses that are really dependent on guys that have length, guys that can really pressure the ball. And Richmond and Smith are both guys. They do it differently, but they both do it well.
Yep. I just like the commit to the bit of we're going to attack the rim and we're going to be athletic defensively of this team. Because last year's team.
Also,
we just take a sip of water at the same time?
Yes, literally at the same time.
But like last year's team was just kind of an amalgamation of dudes, and they were dudes. But like this year's team has a clear identity. It's we are going to beat you up getting to the basket, and you will not get past our guards. And if you do, good luck. Good luck finishing over Vince, or good luck dealing with Zuby, or good luck dealing with RJ Lewis and all those guys. And they've got it's just oh my god. I always get Scott and Reuben Jones confused. It's Aaron Scott that's there.
Yes, Reuben Jones.
I just love the commit to the bit of we're going to smother you at the rim type stuff. I like that. That was
3.
So that means you don't have one of my top 3 on your list, which is honestly surprising because I thought we would both have the same top 3.
Okay.
Because my number 3 is somebody that you talked about a lot when he committed to this place. And you really talked me into liking this fit a lot more than I initially did. And I love this team as well. And I love the coach. It's Elijah Hawkins at Texas Tech.
Okay, I thought about a couple of different guys at Texas Tech. I don't like with Hawkins, and like I'll let you go on yours in a sec. But the thing about Elijah Hawkins, it's not so much that McCasland plays play style that like I like it. It's just like who they've surrounded him with that I really like.
Exactly. It's the fact that this team is going to be bringing back shooters and getting athletes. Like JT Toppin is a point guard's dream. Darian Williams and Kerwin Walton and Chance McMillan, Kevin Over, like point guards that can pass and manipulate space like Elijah Hawkins can. Love having just dudes that are play finishers, and Texas Tech has so many play finishers. Even Federico, who I remember when Texas Tech got him, and people were like, "Oh, they're going to need another 5." I think he's good enough offensively if you give him a point guard that's as good at playmaking as Elijah Hawkins is.
Yeah,
I just think it's a great fit because that's a team with so many play finishers. And I'm not sure. And I think, honestly, one of the issues that they had last year was like Pop Isaacs is just fine. Like I just don't think he's a great like primary creator. And like Joe Toussaint is also like fine. but Elijah Hawkins will elevate that team. Like, I don't think Isaacs or Toussaint like truly elevated that team offensively. I think Elijah Hawkins will elevate that team offensively.
All right. One of my top two, I'm sure you will have in your top two.
I think we might have the same top two.
Yeah, I'm okay. Number 2 for me is Joshua Jefferson at Iowa State.
Me too. Same.
Like perfect perfect not Desmond Watson. Who am I thinking of?
Who are you thinking of?
The kid that played the 3 for them.
Are you thinking of Demarion Watson?
Yes,
Demarion. He was there last year. But he was Watson. He was 20.
Or not
20%
sorry,
of the minutes.
Not Demarion Watson. Trey King. King.
Yeah, I don't even think like Jefferson's like a 1-for-1 replacement for anybody on this roster. I think he's like legitimately like he's better than the dudes that they are losing. Like he's better than Trey King. Like, just straight up.
I agree. He was an underrated freshman when he was coming into high school or coming into college, and now he'll be an underrated transfer coming into Iowa State. Like he'll go out and score 10, 11 points a game and like just defend whoever they need him to.
He'll be what we thought Omaha Blue was going to be, but better offensively. You know what I want? You know what I want to look at? I haven't looked at this. Or do we not have the Evan Mia subscription? Or no, we still have it.
No, we do.
Hold on, I'm just trying to find something. I want to see what St. Mary's splits were with him on and off.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask for the password because I cannot say that right now.
Yep, he had the number 1 on-off margin on St. Mary's.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit.
Ironically, Aiden Mahaney was last by a lot.
Why did I pick them to beat? Yeah, but Aiden didn't come off the floor, so like.
Yeah, I know. Regardless.
Why did I pick them to beat Grand
Canyon? And my number 1. And I'm sure we have the same number 1. 3, 2, 1. Cliff
Amarui.
Yeah. Just Bama's best with elite rim protection.
Yes.
This is the best rim protector.
I thought about putting Jefferson at 1. I actually thought about putting Jefferson at 1 because just because I think he's going to be so good there. But Cliff just like probably makes Alabama like what, at least 25, 30 spots better defensively.
Yeah. He was number 3 in the country in block rate last year, only behind Miles Rubin and Justice Ajigbor.
If Rutgers still had him, we'd be talking about a top 10 Rutgers team.
A top 5 Rutgers team.
Honestly, yeah. Like, I didn't want to like push it and be absurd, but like, yeah.
All right. It's time for bad gets.
Let's go.
So I have an honorable mention of a just weird, and this is not necessarily just like bad gets, it's also just like weird fits as well.
Yeah, I have no honorable mention. Like
honestly, a good deal of this list, I think 3 of these guys I just think are not good enough to play at the level that they committed to.
Okay. Because I was going to add on
2 of them are just like fits I don't understand.
Yeah, I was going to say that like the players on this list, it doesn't necessarily mean that we think that they're bad players. It just means that like, yeah, like this for their skill set, this spot might not make a lot of sense.
And I did take my weird fit honorable mention is the Mississippi State backcourt.
I thought about that.
I did not think that they needed Kanye Clary. I did not think that they needed Claudel Harris. I especially did not think they needed both. But getting Riley Kugel at the end of the day makes that much better.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your number 5 bad get / weird fit?
Mark Mitchell at Mizzou.
Okay. I didn't really think about having Mark Mitchell on my list. Why is he a weird fit?
Like, maybe so. Couple reasons. First of all, like Dennis Gates' first year, like we didn't know it obviously coming into the season, but that team was obviously very committed to being a well-spaced team that played fast, right? Second year, like weren't as fast, but like the floor spacing commitment was still the same, or at least tried to be the same. Now they like are constructing a team with like Tony Perkins as your starting point guard. Marquise Warwick will like is not a super great shooter, and he'll play a lot for this team. Like Cruz and Tamar Bates and like I guess Caleb Grill at times because he's sort of inconsistent. Like those are your shooters on this team. So like this is not a team that I don't think is going to shoot the ball super well. And like I would have said that had they not added Mark Mitchell anyway, and now they do. And I just like I don't know what he adds to this team that like they didn't already have.
Okay. My number
like,
5 is
also I do want to add that like Kobe Brown in Gates' first year went from like a 23% to a 47% 3-point shooter. So like there is hope, but like if you watch Mark Mitchell shoot, like there's a lot that needs to be fixed.
My number 5 is Louis Courtright at Washington. Like this is not a high major player. Like I liked him at Quinnipiac. He was bad at Rhode Island. That was a bad A10 team. Like just I if you want a guard, like there is a high major, like okay, there's got to be something wrong with KK Robinson that he's not been picked up by somebody yet, because that's a high major, maybe not like a
he
wasn't
back
great
at he's back at Little Rock.
Really?
That happened. I'm like sure of it.
Whatever it is, I'm sure that Washington.
I could have sworn like
been a much better
week ago. Like
he would have been a much better get than.
Look it up, but I could have sworn a week ago somebody tweeted like a clip of Little Rock at practice and like he was practicing with them.
Okay, yep. Jace, Little Rock men's basketball tweeted it out. But regardless of that, like if 2 months ago Washington got KK Robinson instead of Louis Courtright, I'd be feeling a lot better about them. Or just, I know that it was late that they picked up Courtright, but like I didn't like when they got Louis Courtright. I was like, okay, they have a guard, like they have Zoom Diallo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we sure Louis Courtright is better than Zoom Diallo? Like, no,
and I don't even think Zoom Diallo is that good.
No, I just didn't understand like why they did that. I don't really understand what Washington's goal is. Like the only 2 Washington gets like I look at and I like definitely like. Okay, there's 3: DJ Davis, Tyler Harris, and Conway. But even then, like Tyler Harris is kind of a weird play style. Chris Conway is also like they have a deep front court regardless. I think they just had a weird offseason. Maybe if they just didn't put as much NIL into guys like Harris or Conway, and those are good gets. But like obviously they were going to put the NIL into Ostavor. Like I'm not telling them don't put the money into Ostavor, because like this team without Ostavor is a lot worse than the team with Ostavor.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't think they needed as many like of like the Tyree Iheanacho pieces. Just get a better point guard. Like get a legit high major, or at least high mid.
Did we
what were Louis Courtright's numbers at Rhode Island last year?
Did we mention, by the way, that like we weren't allowed to include players that followed a coach?
We weren't allowed. Not allowed to include. Yeah, no, not allowed to include players. Like Louis Courtright was a 20% usage guy at like an average offensive rating at Rhode Island last year, which was a really bad team.
Yeah. Should I move on to 4?
Like Rhode Island took Sebastian Thomas back over bringing back Louis Courtright. And Sebastian Thomas had an 86 offensive rating. I almost considered putting Sebastian Thomas on this list. Sebastian Thomas had an 86 offensive rating over 2 years as Rhode Island's kind of like number one / number 2 point guard.
That's awesome.
I'm not sure if it was a Courtwright
Rating.
decision, but
I,
you can't tell me Louis Courtwright wouldn't have started over Sebastian Thomas if they brought him back. I get Sebastian Thomas had a great year at Albany, but he was straight up awful for 2 years at what's it called? At Rhode Island. Go on. Who's your number 4?
If you had made me guess the number of the lowest offensive rating of a player last year in college basketball, I'm not sure my guess would have been lower than 86.
Well, it wasn't last year that he was an 86.
I know, but still.
He was a 109.1 last year at Albany.
So there was a team last year, pretty prominent program in the realm of college basketball, that was like a sub 300 defensive team in KenPom and had a on-ball high usage point guard.
Oh, I know who this is.
Didn't defend at all, and their coach went into the portal and said, "You know what we need? Another one of those." You know who
I was going to put this guy on my list, but I knew you were going to have him on there, and I didn't want to have I already know that my number 1, you're also going to have it number 1.
Are we sure?
I'm quite certain we both slam dunked this person into number 1 the moment we started this list.
Okay, because maybe I'm forgetting someone, but I think you've said earlier in the show that you weren't going to put my number 1 in your least favorite fits.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe I'm forgetting someone, and
you put Umar Balo at number 1?
Yeah.
You put Umar Balo at number 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
we got sidetracked. We got sidetracked, by the way. But number 4 for me is Malik Mack. In case you haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Which love the player. Okay. But what the hell is that?
Which I'm gonna be honest with you, there's probably a whole bunch of people listening to this that hadn't figured that out because, obviously, obviously the description gave it away to some people, but there's also probably a whole bunch of teams that could have fit that, and people were probably racking their brain on which moves were made this offseason. But yeah,
it's hard to find a pretty prominent program in college basketball that was as bad defensively as Georgetown was last year.
Yeah, good point.
But also I do want to mention that I really like the player. I just what the hell is Ed Cooley doing?
Yeah, I originally had him on my list.
Dude, I'm scrambling.
My number 4.
Hold on.
My number 4 is
go on.
My number 4 is Mongolian Mike. This dude,
I couldn't even tell you where he went. Where did he go?
Utah.
Oh God.
Utah. This was a guy who was sent to the bench at Dayton in a bad year for Dayton, and they were underwhelming, and he played 54% of the minutes. Okay, he wasn't, and he was sent to the bench towards the end of the season and was out of the rotation at times. He might have been hurt. I don't remember. But either way, he wasn't good at Dayton. He went to San Francisco, so a kind of lateral move in terms of mid-major leagues that are good leagues, but the bottom of the WCC is worse and top's a little better. But regardless, and was bad there. Just was not assertive as a scorer, had a higher turnover rate than assist rate, shot fine from the field. What indication, doesn't get to the line at all? What indication, aside from he's 6'8" and can pass a little bit, have we gotten that this is a high major player or even a high mid? Actually, high mid is a solid level for him. He could, if he returned, he would be.
You froze for a second.
Mongolian Mike's not a high major player. Just he's not.
Yeah, the only thing I really have to add to that is I think we have reached the. He's a junior now, right? This is his third year of college
Yeah.
basketball and his third
Yes.
school, which
The honeymoon phase is over.
like the thing about
And
Mongolian
also,
Mike is like
what position do they want him? Like, what position do they want him to play? Like, is he a not very physical, like fine shooting three? Like they have Gabe Madsen who shoots like pretty well. Is he like he's Miro Little would be better at the one than him as well? Like, what exactly do they want him to do?
I also like the only thing I have to add to that is because you covered pretty much everything. Is why have we not moved past the point of the idea of Mongolian Mike is better than the actual player you get?
Dude, I think I got to that point in like game 3 of Dayton.
Dude, I'm still trying to figure
Actually,
out.
no, his first 3 games at Dayton were good. Like I think we got to that point like mid-season at Dayton.
I'm still trying to figure out who number 1 is, and like if I forgot
All
this
right.
guy, I'm gonna be really mad.
All right, who's your number 3? Did you do
Yeah,
number 4?
we're at 3. Okay.
Who's your 3?
Dude, I feel okay. This might be number 1 for you. Pop Isaacs at Creighton.
Oh, I forgot about him. I should have had him on my list.
Okay, so you got this system at Creighton where McDermott runs like all sorts of stuff, like ball screens, Kalkbrenner. Like it depends on like it basically depends on like high IQ, smart players that make good decisions. And like Pop Isaacs, while is very good at some things, is like the opposite of that. Like,
what is he very good at?
Getting the ball at the rim.
I don't think Pop Isaacs is like particularly like great at anything. He's like a fine starting guard at the high major level.
He shot 35% last year from the field. Like this is like about as far from Trey Alexander as you could possibly get, and still be somewhat realistic.
Creighton Devil Magic will have him shooting 40% from 3 and 47% from the field. No, yeah, I agree with that being a bad get.
Maybe Pop Isaacs is the move that makes Ryan Kalkbrenner slightly better for the first time in his college career.
All right, my number 3
not a
is
slight
Coleman
Ryan
Hawkins.
Kalkbrenner, by the way. He's a great player. It's just he's what he
My
is.
My number 3 is Coleman Hawkins at Kansas State.
Ooh,
what?
I like it.
What? Why did they need to do this?
You know, I talked about him.
They'd already brought in Onyenso and Bayafal at the 5. They brought in Akora Core, who they want to play probably at the 4, and they have David Engasan. They brought in Max Jones and CJ Jones and Brennan Hausen. Like, do they want Hawkins to like where do they want him to play? Like,
can I give you a reasonable explanation for this? And the only logical one I have.
They have money and they need to use it.
No. That's not even it. So you have your guards on this team are Doug McDaniel, CJ Jones, David Castillo, and Brendan Hausen. 2 of those can handle the ball.
Yeah, it's not great defensively.
In McDaniel and Castillo. Castillo, I think, is not close to being ready to play at a high major in the Big 12 yet. Is it possible that like Tang decided that they needed?
You're not about to say what I think you're going to say. You're not about to say what I think you're going to say.
Should I not say it?
Go ahead, say it.
Is it possible that K-State needed a secondary ball handler in case Doug didn't do his homework again?
Oh no. If their solution to that was Coleman Hawkins and that solution came in like mid-June, I don't think that was the plan. Like, if they needed that, it would have come way earlier than when it came with Hawkins.
I mean, is that that's probably a more reasonable explanation than playing them at the 4 with Akora Core and David Gassan.
No, with Akora and Onyenso.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I just have so many questions for what Jerome Tang was thinking this offseason with his gets. Like, they have all this money, and they threw it at like Hawkins and Onyenso, like 2 5s in a market where 5s are extremely overvalued. Like, you can't tell me that they couldn't have gotten better guards out of this portal haul with the money that they have.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is your number 2.
Okay. This is a weird one. So
Go ahead.
this is a coach that I like. I still like. Obviously, I'm when you hear it, I'm not as high on this guy as I once was. But I still think he's good. But like this move like made absolutely no sense to me. Zurich Phelps to Texas A&M, like
Oh yeah, that's
Texas
that was
A&M,
one of the
Texas A&M
that was
like the
one of the bad gets that Sweeney and Brad pointed out.
okay the Texas A&M problem is like they're always athletic, they always can attack the rim, and they always will rebound. Like they've done that for years. The thing holding them back is like they can't shoot and they never can shoot. And their solution to that was, oh hey, let's go get another 26% career 3-point shooter. Like, is Buzz Williams just like fine with like Texas A&M being who they are?
I think that yes, that's what they are trying to be, what they are.
Because like I think they can be. I think they can be better than that. Like there are better ways to use the resources, and like we have seen Buzz Williams teams that can shoot before.
Yep. All right. My number 2 is 2 guys on the same team. Boston Holt and Justin Thomas.
Dude, I didn't think for a second about this team.
Just like, where did these dudes come from? Like UTSA and South Dakota. They're both these like 6'7", like semi-creating, like big guard types. Like obviously, like some sort of hedge against whether what's his name is gonna come back. But like again, whether Watkins is gonna come back, but like neither of these guys are good enough, like or remotely close to good enough. All right.
Yeah,
And
Florida State was not considered for my top 100, so that should tell you all you need to know.
Who's your number 1?
Okay, so did I forget you? Did I not have your number 1 on here?
Yeah, you did not have my number 1.
Okay, I'm going to be so mad when you say who this is.
we talk about this dude like every day.
But I was
it's
like,
Kirk Risa.
Okay,
it's Kirk.
I thought that may have been a possibility, but you know why I didn't include this?
Why?
Kirk Kreese is a bad get no matter where he goes.
But especially at a place like Kentucky, where like they're going to need him to like do more than simply like antagonize people.
Okay, but here's the thing.
But like, would he be a bad get at like a high major that's trying to like get into the tournament?
He would be a bad get at Siena.
Okay, but
Sam, if Kirk Kreese transferred right now to a MAC school, would you pick him to win MAC Player of the Year?
I don't think I would. Okay, I probably would. I probably would.
Okay.
I probably would pick him to win MAC Player of the Year. But regardless, just this is like the whole thing with Mark Pope is the system is reliant on like smart decision making and like playing in flow. Kirk Kreese is like going upstream 100% of the time. Kirk Kreise is like that fish that swims against the tide, trying to like show other fish that he can swim against the tide.
So would you
just like for the sake of doing like what it like? I get your reasoning, but like, just for such a high profile program for this to be their starting point guard after like we've seen what he's done at like
he like has he like in the past has,
that
like
was a good line. That deserved more love. The coming against the Tide just to show the other fish that he can.
but like the problem with him is like so here's my whole thing. Like he's 100% the starting point guard on this team, right?
I mean, I don't think Lamont Butler's a point guard.
Would you be opposed to them trying Lamont Butler, Colin Chandler, or Jackson Robinson even playing at point?
I mean, I think you're going to end up trying Butler.
So I think they should try a little Jackson Robinson at the point. And the reason I say that is because like with Kirk Kriisa, you're getting into like the I can't believe I'm about to say this. You're getting into like the Art Howe like Moneyball movie like line where it's like you have Kirk Kriisa, you have some other guys whose point guard skills may be a little undervalued, and you get into the point with Kirk Kriisa where it's like you're sitting there with this mindset of Kirk Kriisa's not just the best point guard on the roster; he's the only point guard on the roster.
But I think that there's a wouldn't it be funny like Anthony Almanor being Scott Hatterberg just because like he's the NEC transfer, like no one expected to be there. It's just like he showed up to his house like here you go, we'll give you a lot of money, and if you just do something that you probably didn't think you would be doing. So that's
the Kentucky started recruiting him. All their fans were like, "Who? Great, he's a Kentucky Wildcat already."
Yeah. Okay.
So, number one for me is Oumar Ballo. We like kind of already discussed it. Like, I mean, Mike, like you could just go look at Mike Woodson's quotes from press conferences where he talks about like how basketball in the year 2024 is still played through the post. They got like I actually think they kind of got lucky.
Basketball is played through the post when you have Zach Edey.
Yes, like I actually think Indiana
that is it.
I actually kind of think Indiana got lucky last year that Kalal Ware was like a better shooter than like we anticipated him to be.
Oh yeah,
because but now like there is a like what 0% chance that Oumar Ballo can shoot as well as Kalal Ware did last year.
Unless Oumar Ballo went to Chris Brickley this offseason, this is a bad get. But yeah, I was listening back to like the night they played Army on the podcast, and it was with Greg Waddell, who we've already mentioned once on this show because of the great Madi Sissoko line. But I said on that podcast, or someone said on that podcast, that like the concerning thing about Indiana playing as badly as they did was that Ware was like awesome, and they were still like not good.
Yeah. So like, yeah, my thing with them is like,
forget Ware was a huge question mark coming into Indiana.
Yeah, his work ethic. It was his work ethic.
All right, so that's yeah, Ballo. I wanted to put him on the list. I had him on the list, but I kind of thought at the end of the day, like, is he just too good to have on this list?
That's fair. That's fair.
Because I do think they should have gotten like I'm not even sure they should have gotten like a starting center. Like Renew's not a
dude. Malika backup would have been fine.
Yeah, that was my thing though. Like obviously Renew's best as a 4, but so is Mbako.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
and it's like at some point you're gonna
guards too.
At some point, like the spacing for Rice and Carlisle have to be there.
Who are not great shooters themselves.
Yes. It's like how many more minutes? Like how many minutes can you realistically like keep Miles Rice off the floor because like you have no one who could shoot and Gabe Cupps has to play.
If they didn't get Ballo, I would have Luke Goody on my best fits list because I would be certain that he would be playing 30 plus minutes a game. And
I think that's a really good point.
But
also, like
the fact that they have Ballo makes Goody a worse get but still just as necessary. If you know what I mean.
Also, is Gabe Cups like? Is he like an elite shooter?
No, he's
Because
I don't think he's an elite.
he shot like 36% last year, which is fine. But like low key, I think like Gabe Cups is like thought of as this like elite shooter because there's that like one video of him doing a shooting contest of LeBron from when he was in like 8th grade.
I think Gabe Cups is a good shooter.
He is a good shooter, but like I think when people think of Gabe Cups, it's like, oh, Indiana.
Is Anthony Leal back?
Yeah, he is. At least according to the burner ball depth chart.
Shout out Anthony Leal for being the reason why Indiana won that game against Iowa that night.
Who was the guy in Indiana last year that like Ant Wright was like obsessed with and like
like, Gunn.
Yes, he's at the ball now, right?
I think so.
Oh, let Holtman cook.
Hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, Gunn's at DePaul. All right. I have sometimes the best gets are the ones you already have. Shout out Trilly Donovan list. I actually have 2 lists.
Do you have did you do the biggest gaps between ceiling and floor?
Oh no, I didn't. But
I have 5 if you want me to go over them
we'll do that after.
Okay.
I have the mid-major Trilly Donovan list and the high major Trilly Donovan list. Shall I start with the honorable mentions from the mid-major list?
Sure.
Ante Berzovic, Max Shulga, Gibson Jimerson, Eric Reynolds and Xavier Brown, Miles Rubin, Daniel Baccio, and the entire Towson team.
Okay.
And honestly, a lot of those guys, you could put them on the list regardless.
Mm-hmm.
My number 5 on the what?
Sorry.
What?
The WNBA All-Stars beat the WNBA Olympic team, and Harrison just texted me that it was Caitlin Clark's biggest win of her career.
All right, my number 5, and honestly, no, screw it. I'm moving this guy to number 4. My number 5 is the UC Riverside backcourt.
Ooh, I like that. I thought about Targus.
It's Targus and Isaiah Moses. Just bringing both of them back is so big, and we talked in like number 4.
So
Jocelyn Bodo at High Point.
Ooh, okay.
And this is not because I think Jocelyn Bodo is like incredible. He's really good.
Someone would have overpaid a ton for him if he went.
Exactly. That's why he averaged 7 and 10 last year on 68% from the field with 2 blocks and 24 minutes a game as a true freshman, as a true 7-footer for a really good team. He could have gotten a lot of money, but High Point, who has a lot of money, brings him back.
Yes, they do.
That's just a huge boon. Like true 7-footers like that are that athletic at the mid-major level. That team is unbelievably stacked at High Point this year.
Do you know that High Point has like a steak restaurant on campus that like students can use like twice a year on their meal plan? I'm not making that up.
All right, regardless. Number 3, Yakthil Lendeberg.
Excellent.
This guy would have been on a summer league team, I think, if he declared for the draft. But he'll definitely, as a result of staying, be able to boost his case for next year's draft. He is a freak athlete at that size, about 6'9", 6'10". Just can do so much out of that spot, and UAB is going to be really good because they have so much athleticism. Number 2 on my mid-major list is Tyan Grant Foster.
Good.
He could be an All-American this year.
I actually didn't put him on because I didn't think there was like ever a serious chance that he was going in the portal.
I thought he was in the draft. Like I thought he was 100% going to be in the draft. I thought he could.
I didn't include guys that like.
My list is like exclusively draft guys.
Okay, mine's not. Mine's like guys that mine's a combination of those and like guys that we thought like either were in the portal or like could have been in the portal.
All right. Tyan Grant Foster could be an All-American this year. Is that ridiculous?
No, not at all. Because part of it is he has the national recognition now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And my number one is Will Wade. It's not even a player. It's just Will Wade.
Did not see that
Because
coming, but I like it.
if Will Wade leaves McNeese, do they get the type of NIL, anything close to it, to bring in the roster that they brought in? Would you like to hear, like, they have Quadir Copeland, Sincere Parker, Brandon Murray, Christian Shoemate, Brian Celebang, Joe Charles, DJ Richards, Mike Saunders, Omar. They're stacked. Like, they might be more stacked they are more stacked than last year. They just don't have it. I don't think they have anyone. I don't think they have anyone as good as Ken Pom game MVP at Allen Fieldhouse. But just top to bottom, I think they're more stacked than last year.
I wonder if McNeese will try that strategy again when Wade leaves. Just like hiring a guy that was like blackballed out of high major college basketball.
Who?
Dude, I don't even know. Like NIL is kind of
Josh Casper?
I don't think he was blackballed, Sam. Hello, human resources.
Tom Crean.
Dude, Tom Crean took the McNeese job. I'd buy a shirt so fast.
Who else could be out there? I mean, just go on the Matt McCall from the Field of 68. You just hire some dude off the Field of 68.
Was Will Wade on the Field of 68?
No, just thinking of dudes that are on the Field of 68 right now. No. Oh, if like Ed Cooley ends up getting fired from Georgetown, Ed Cooley, McNeese coach.
Okay, so my list was like guys that like could have entered or did enter.
I also have a high major list.
Let me do my mid major ones, and then you can do your high majors because I only have one list.
All right.
So these are guys that basically like the way I did this was basically like, okay, if you were in the portal or like could have entered the portal, like everyone would have wanted you, pretty much.
Okay, go ahead.
And like I didn't include guys that like I kind of thought it was either NBA draft or like they're coming back to school.
Okay, go ahead.
Eric Reynolds at St. Joe's. Like,
okay,
so many good programs would have wanted him. Miles Rubin at Loyola Chicago.
Yep, he was an honorable mention on my mid-major list.
Mason Falslev at Utah State.
He did enter the portal and eventually came back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Yaxel Lendeborg, I also included at UAB. And then Max Shulga at VCU.
Yep, and he was committed to Villanova.
Yeah, he was. And then
all right. So, should I do my list?
Yeah, sure.
Was that your entire list?
Yeah, that I only did. The way I thought about this was from a mid-major perspective.
All right. My high majors. Number 1, Alex Caravan. Number 2, Jameer Watkins. Number 3, Hunter Salas. Number 4, Maxime Reynaud. And number 5, Peyton Sanfort. I thought Reynaud was going to be in the. I thought Reynaud was going to get in the portal and go somewhere, and I thought the other 4 all could have been drafted.
Yeah. No Mark Sears.
I didn't think Sears' draft stock was like. I thought Sears also maybe could have just made more money at Alabama than in the draft.
Yeah,
I thought it was just a lot more obvious that he would come back than the guys that I listed.
Okay, I think that's fair.
All right, do you have your floor ceilings?
Yeah, I'll go over this really quickly.
Actually, could I name a few?
Actually, go for it.
No, you go because you thought about this.
Okay, so I'll go 5-1 here. This is a list of my top 5 teams that have the biggest gaps between their ceiling and floor. This upcoming season. 5, Michigan.
Okay.
Good team, I think, but a lot of transfers could go sideways. 4, USC.
Okay.
It's the same kind of deal with Michigan, but like on a more extreme level. 3, BYU.
Okay.
Like I think there's a world where that could be a top 15 team, but I could also see a world where like Kevin Young is getting used to college basketball. They're relying on some um, international talent, and like obviously like it's a bunch of guys from the same and different systems. To Illinois, kind of same reason as BYU, like two international kids that have been talked about pretty highly, as well as a handful of transfers, and then one Arkansas. I mean, the talent's undeniable, but like they legit have what 7 or 8 guys that can play. What if a
All
couple
right.
of them get? What if a couple of them get hurt?
I'm going to add um, Kansas State to that.
Okay.
If it works, it could be really interesting. Because there's a lot of talent there. I
Mm-hmm.
just am not sure if it works. Ole Miss.
Good one. I thought about them.
I'll put Ole Miss on there. That could be strange. But I love the talent level on that team. It just I really am confused by a lot of things there. Who else do I want to say for this? SMU. I like them. They'll probably end up finishing in the Enfield zone. Shout out 3-man weave. But
That's good.
but like that, there's a lot of talent on that team. It's just like talent from a million different places.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, big gap between the floor and the ceiling. If you want to go to the mid-major, yep, St. Joe's, without a doubt, would be on there. UCF, obviously, that's a high major, but still. And I'll go with. Let me find one more that I want to use. I don't know.
My
Maybe.
my first team that I left off was UCLA.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Um, oh, I can say Loyola Marymount. Like, that could go really well. There's a bunch of really fun pieces there, but that could also go really badly. Like, because those pieces are, we're not really sure about them yet. All right, let's move on to. I also had a list of 5 teams that I kind of just. I'm not sure if they analyzed their team needs before throwing money at problems, but like some of them came out well, I think, and some of them came out badly. It's just like
Okay.
I'm not sure. Those 5 are Arizona State, Kansas State, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Indiana.
Okay.
I have the surprisingly, you're just broke list. Teams that have clearly basically zero money in the world. That would be Colorado, Virginia, and LSU. Like where, like what on earth? Where is your money? You guys should have more money than you do. And you can maybe throw Wisconsin on there. Just like their transfer gets were fairly uninspiring. And like
Sure.
that's like you would think Wisconsin and like the schools that I mentioned would have more NIL than they do.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
also started a list of like you need one like just the one piece away teams, and that list right now is Davidson is number 1 on that list. If I remember, they were in on Braden Smith, the Colgate transfer, ended up committing to Gonzaga, and they'll be redshirting there. If they got him, they would be a legit, maybe not A10 like top contender, but legit team that could be like a top 75, 80 team, but not sure they're going to be in there. One piece away as well. I said, I feel like I said Siena. they're an Ansley Almanor away from being a MAC contender. They could possibly still be one without him. I don't know. I just feel like that roster was built with the idea that they would get Ansley Almanor, and they didn't. And then, yeah, that's that list. Here, it's game time. Let's have fun.
Let's do it.
This is adopted from the great TV show Inside the NBA.
Who
Do you
you
know
play
what the
for?
game is? Yep,
Who you
it's
play
who he
for?
play for. All right, it's time
We-
for you to put down.
Harrison and I do this on our football show after NFL free agency.
It is time for you to put down the burner ball depth charts and play.
They are
Who he played
closed,
for.
and so is the Records, Bubbles, and Bid Steelers offseason database.
All
On full
right.
screen.
The first name. All right. Let me grab this out and. Oh boy, give me a sec. The first name on. Oh, hold on. Who he play for? I will put the name up on the screen.
Oh, excellent.
The first name. Devin Askew.
Oh
Who
my
he
God.
play for?
Um,
All right, give me a second. I'm gonna do this on a different.
okay.
All right. Who he play for? Devin Askew.
This is tough. Wow. I'm gonna say Utah Valley. I have no idea.
Devin Askew plays for Long Beach State.
I was thinking of Mountain West schools, and I was running through them in my head, and Long Beach didn't cross my mind.
That is not a Mountain West school.
Or sorry, Big West schools.
All right, next up on who he play for. Who he play for? Lance Ware.
You still allowed to?
Apparently.
Oh God. LaSalle. Was I close? I feel like it's around there.
Not even close.
What is it?
You get. I'll give you one more guess.
Not even close.
I've asked you this question before this offseason. About Lance Ware.
I don't know, dude. UTEP. I don't know.
Very close, actually. UT Arlington is who Lance Ware plays for. All right. Who he play for? Alan Breed.
Dude, I'm just gonna have to start naming random schools. Middle Tennessee State.
No. One more
Who
guess.
is it? Oh God,
McNeese.
dude, huh? East.
Alan Breed plays for McNeese.
Oh, McNeese. Christ.
All right. Who he play for? Matthew Marsh.
Dude, I can't believe these guys are still in college basketball.
Matthew Marsh, who was #1 in the country in offensive rating in 2023.
Tulane. You froze for a second. Yes, I said Tulane. You froze. Who is it?
Matthew Marsh. What'd you say?
Who is it?
Hold on one sec. Matthew Marsh plays for Oregon State.
I knew that. I remember them.
All right. Who he play for? Khalifa Sacco.
I don't even know who this is.
He was the other big for Utah State this year.
Oh, okay.
Who he play for? Khalifa Sacco.
Cal Poly.
Khalifa Sacco plays for
Northern Colorado.
Sam Houston State.
Oh my god, dude.
All right.
I gotta get one of these.
Yeah, you definitely do have to get one. Give me a second. Let me make sure I'm
Did
thinking
you know
of
these
right.
without looking it up?
Oh no, I looked these up.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Who he play for? DeJuan Odom.
Oh, he was at a certain school. I wonder if he's still there.
No, he transferred this offseason.
So he's not at Georgia State anymore.
No, he's not at Georgia State.
Okay.
And this is all, by the way, according to the Burner Ball depth chart. If I'm wrong, it's because the Burner Ball depth chart is wrong.
Northern Kentucky.
The correct answer is Tulsa. He is the PJ Haggerty replacement. All right, I'm about to bring out a name you have not heard in a very long time.
Okay.
Who do you play for? Logan Duncombe.
Oh my god, man. Dude, this guy's so close for like Bellarmine.
Winthrop.
What the hell?
All right, two more.
Okay.
Who he play for? DeMar Langford Jr.
Okay, so he was at BC. Where did he go? Was he at East Carolina before BC or after?
DeMar Langford?
Yeah.
He was not at East Carolina.
Huh?
No, he was not at East Carolina. He was at UCF last year. He was at BC for 3 years.
Oh, okay. Dude.
Give me a guess.
No, not. Jackson State? I don't know.
UAlbany.
Oh my god, man.
Along with Casper Claychek from St. Joe's.
That name I knew. Couldn't tell you where he was, but
all right.
You've one more?
One more. The final one. And I need to make sure I have this one right. Because let me just make sure I have it right. All right, yeah, I have it right. Who he play for? Andre Johnson Jr. Two-time national champion Andre Johnson Jr.
Is this a Division I school?
Yes, it is. And you mentioned them on this segment already.
I did?
Yes.
I guess we'll go with UTEP.
Utah Valley.
Oh my god.
Andre Johnson Jr. plays for Utah Valley.
Well,
all right. That will do it. Jonathan, take us home.
If you came to hear Tyler Self and what he's doing to make a living, you came to the right place. If you came to hear Moneyball references about Kentucky's backcourt, you came to the right place. And if you came to hear about Caleb Grill, who I will remind you is officially back at Mizzou this year, you came to the right place. This is season 5, episode 8 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. We'll see you next time.